Like I said, we are tuned into, you're streaming live on the web at allthews.kcradio.com.au. And our Facebook page is allthews.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez segment. So you feel free to leave some feedback in how we go about the segment and what we do on the segment. And also I have my very special friend Brian McAleer online here now, and he's going to be speaking to us, life and youth empowerment coach, and he's written a book about the smartest goals and making inroads in his life and his success. A young man achieving a lot in his life, going about the success. We're going to be talking about how we can build on those New Year resolutions. In saying that, Brian, welcome to an Hour of Power in Leadership.
Thanks, Ryan. It's good to be back, and Happy New Year to you.
Oh, Happy New Year to you, man. I think, like I said on the phone, we've got to wish each other for Happy New Year 2016 coming up soon, isn't it? The way we're going.
Up. Yeah, I've already received a Christmas card.
Well, we've got Easter buns in the supermarkets already, so we're coming up to April, I think. Oh no!
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, time's flying by, So it's a good time of year to get things planned and get things happening before the year gets into full swing and escapes from us.
Of course. And now tell me, Brian, how are you keeping up with your New Year resolution?
Not too bad, actually. My year has started off pretty well. I always dedicate some time in January to look back over the year that just was, what went well, what didn't, how I can improve in different areas, and what my goals are for that particular year. Like I have long-term goals for my life that I'm always working on a consistent basis. But then I have different goals for each year based on just whatever's happening in my life or in my career or in my finances. So I spend a lot of January looking at that and trying different approaches to exploring what my goals are. And what I did to sort of help myself with that was I developed this goal-setting method, which I've now written a book on. And I've linked it to this ebook about how to make your New Year's resolutions work. So my take is that a resolution isn't quite strong enough to create the change that you want. Most people set resolutions at the start of the year and either give up or they just don't get off the ground.
Yes.
For various reasons. And because there's a certain vagueness about a resolution, it's not quite specific enough. So what I've done is I've turned it around and said, all right, well, don't have resolutions. Have New Year's solutions, as I like to call them, and turn it into a goal, something that's specific and measurable that you can work on. So that's kind of what I've been doing with myself for the past month, and just putting the final touches on my goals.
And it's funny to a point where we look at people, and it's always the beginning of the year that people sit back and say, "Hang on, I want to set some goals. I want to write down my New Year resolution." And it's amazing, just the start of the year, people want to do that, but get straight into 2-3 months down the track. I know we get being busy and doing the urgent things in life, But how does one stick to their New Year resolution? Let's say their goals per se. So what is it that they need to do? And I know you've written the smartest method, which is a great method I use every day in my life, as a matter of fact. And
thank you very much.
It's great, and how you go about the method is I think it's a great process in how you go about it. But let's talk about this ebook you've launched.
Okay, so what the ebook does, and for everyone who's listening today, they will get a free copy of this ebook that they can download and use, and it's set out in a really clear and simple way, and it has some additional resources that come with it, which you can also download for free, and the ebook has all the links in the book, so you read through each chapter, it'll say, click here to do this exercise. And it's really recommended in the ebook that you do the extra exercises it asks you to, because we're not talking about resolutions here, we're talking about goals. So what normally happens is, we come towards the end of the year with Christmas and New Year and holidays, spending time with family, taking time off work. We finally stop and we can sort of think about, all right, well, how was this year for me? And last year, 2014, I suppose globally, was a heck of a year. Like, a lot of stuff happened last year, and it wasn't really a very positive year, I think, for the world. Lots of stuff going on and lots of negative things going on, and hopefully 2015 is a better year. So in saying that, though, I don't encourage people to look at, all right, what happened in the world last year and how has affected me. Just more like, what was your own personal year like? So you look back on the year that was, and the book will ask you to do this exercise called the Wheel of Life.
Okay.
The Wheel of Life is like a pie chart. It's divided up into 8 areas for the 8 areas of your life. So that's health and well-being, lifestyle, family, career, finances, social life, relationships, and your goals and dreams for your life. So those are the 8 areas. So it gets you to work through this real wheel and kind of assess how you think that area was for you in the year that's just passed. So the ebook explains how to do all of that. And that's kind of the starting point. Before you move on and race towards all these resolutions and what you want for the year ahead, it's important to look back at the year that's passed, because we don't want to look on it completely dissatisfied and say, oh, it wasn't a good year, this year's going to be great. There were some things that would have gone well, and it's important to acknowledge those. So you acknowledge what went well and what didn't, and then that helps you form a clearer picture of how you want this year to look for you.
And build on that, right?
And build on that, because some goals take a bit of time. Like, it's not just a goal this year and that's it. Like, some goals can take 2-3 years to achieve, especially if it's sort of a financial or a career goal. So it's important to look at what you did achieve that year and then carry on from there.
I'm looking at the wheel per se, and it does make a lot of sense. I mean, you got to look back at your life in 2014 and assess yourself and see where you are at, in order to get forward, right? And a lot of people make New Year resolutions and goals, and I've seen that time and time again. It's too let's put it this way, too overblown. They blow out their goals to a point where I want to be able to have $1 million. I want to be able to have in 2015 to do. But it's very important to look back and see where you are at and what you've achieved in the last year, and to say, okay, let's. And you talk about the smartest method, right? Reality. Look at reality and look at where you are. Assess yourself, and and I think you've put it really well. Instead of overblowing yourself, and I was sitting with a friend just over the last week, and he was talking to me, and a pretty positive guy, making inroads, and but he says, Ryan, it's been 3 years, and I've been trying to do this, and I've got all these big goals, and I've put it all down on a piece of paper. And I looked at it, and I go, hang on, I said, you're giving yourself 1 year every year. No, this year I'm going to make that $1 million. This year, I said, where are you at this point in time? And he says, no, not at the stage of. Not even close to where I think I need to be. And I say, hang on, so let's look at reality, where you are at,
That's right. That's totally true. And it's important to look at where you are at to get that sort of sense of closure before you move on from the year that's gone. Otherwise, the things we were dissatisfied with can kind of linger in the back of our mind. And then as we get going, we're like, oh, well, hang on, this time last year, this is where I was and it didn't work. Oh, I might just give up and wait until next New Year. It's important to make peace with your past, and that's what this part of the process is all about, just to be like, okay, I actually did better in finances than I think I did, or I didn't quite reach the health milestones I wanted to. What stops me from happening? So, the ebook also asks you these questions, like, what are you proud of from the year before? What were you not so proud of? And if you had the year over again, what would you do differently? So it's looking at it in that way, because it doesn't matter if it happened last year or 3 years ago. Whatever it was that caused that lack of success is still with you. So it's important to try and figure out what that is. And usually it's like just a mental block, like a limiting belief or some kind of self-doubt that we have. So this process will take you through that even before you start writing down your resolutions. So it's important to go through that process and not be turned off by it. It's not saying, well, let's look at the past in order to set resolutions. People are like, oh, I want to get going. It's the start of the year. I don't want to waste time. But it's really pivotal to do that, to make that connection, to sort of bridge the gap between last year and this year, so you know exactly where you are and what you need to do to get to where you want to be this year. So that's an important part of this ebook.
And let's actually touch on the smartest method. And just quickly, I know we can talk about that for the next hour or so. But and it's great. I think it's important people understand this. And let's just go through the smartest method. So you've got the
Sure.
the S standing for small and specific. Being specific, M is measurable and manageable. A is achievable and attainable. Realistic and reliable.
Yep.
Time frame and task orientated, and you got E, you got energized and exciting. Let's I think it's best coming from you, so let's just touch on the S, which is the small and specific, right?
Sure. Yeah, so that's where you start. And so in the ebook, it takes you through a shortened version of setting goals using the smartest method. So like I was saying, I've published a book on that, which you can order online. But this ebook is just a bit of an introduction to that. So for anyone not familiar with my method or who hasn't done any real proactive kind of goal-setting methods before, it's a good way just to try it out and see if it fits for you. So with small and specific, essentially you think about what your resolution is and what is that a part of. Now, it's going to be part of a bigger goal or a bigger outcome that you want for your life. For example, a common resolution at this time of year is I'm finally going to get fit this year, and I'm going to hit the gym, and I'm going to get fit and look good for next summer.
Yes.
Now, what is the bigger goal that that's a part of? Maybe it's like you haven't had the health and the image you've wanted all your life. You finally want to get fit and look good for the rest of your life, or you just want to have good health so you can live a long, happy life. So that is the bigger goal that that's a part of. So I'm always telling people, think big but act small. So you start with a large goal, but we can get very overwhelmed by a large goal, especially, for example, people say, I'm going to make $1 million this year. That's quite challenging. Not to say it's impossible, but it's very challenging and it can seem extremely overwhelming. But if you chunk that down into something a little more small and specific and say, well, this year maybe I'll make my first $50,000. And then the following year I'll double that, $100,000. And then that's how you get sort of small and specific.
So breaking it down into...
You break it down into smaller goals.
Yeah.
But if it's a really large goal, I always recommend try and break it down into 5 to 7 smaller goals, which you can achieve in sort of 2 or 3 month milestones. The other trick with having a goal that's broken down into 5 or 7 steps is there's 7 days in a week, so you can take an action on each goal or a step each day of the week. So it's kind of working it into your weekly schedule as well. And the specific side of it is, we have this incredible ability called creative visualization. Yes. And essentially, we can create anything we want with our mind. And we're doing it every single day, whether we're aware of it or not. We create our own circumstances and environment to a degree. There's also things that happen to us we can't control, but we create a lot of our own life. And we do that by picturing it in our mind, and then we go out and act until it comes to be. So you can get specific by what you want by doing some creative visualization. So using your senses of sight and sound and touch and feel and all of that to get this picture in your head of what your goal looks like before you've actually achieved it. Because the clearer it is in your head, the more chance you'll have of making it happen in reality. And that's why a lot of resolutions don't work, because they're very vague.
Yes.
They're not specific enough. So someone's resolution is to get fit. Well, that's not very specific.
Yep.
Something more specific will be to lose 10 kilos this year and be able to swim 500 meters without getting tired. That's more specific.
Yes,
so that's kind of where I get people to start.
And then you've got the M. So
Yes. Yep. So I'll just quickly run through these. So measurable and manageable. A goal is much more likely to be achieved if it's measurable. So you've already done this to a degree with breaking it down into the smaller steps. Making it measurable is, okay, how will you know that you're on track and progressing, and how will you know you've achieved that step? So this is where you can seek advice and do some research. So say if your goal is to get fit and healthy, you can seek the advice of, say, a personal trainer or a nutritionist who has achieved the level of health and fitness that you're looking for, and can advise you on what the specific steps were that they took. And if you go through a personal trainer at a gym who will help you construct a personal plan that's measurable week by week, month by month, you'll have a far higher chance of success than if you were to just go into a gym by yourself with no plan and just use the equipment. You'll kind of lose track and lose focus pretty quickly. But if you know what you're doing, you're being guided by someone who can help you take measurable steps, then you've got a much bigger chance. And the manageable side of it is it's important to acknowledge what you feel you can manage when you're working on a new goal, not being kind of deluded and having this massive ego saying, you know, I'll be able to work 20 hours a day, come home and sleep and do it all again the next day. Very few of us can do that. So you've got to be honest with yourself about what you can manage. So if you're working out for the first time, can you go to the gym 5 days a week? If you haven't been to the gym in 45 years, probably not. Maybe you've got to start small and just go 1 or 2 days a week.
Yes.
And then you gradually push it until you can do more and more. So that's what M, manageable, stands for. And then with attainable and achievable, a lot of people think these are similar, but they are quite different. In fact, they are quite different. Attainable is looking at your goal and what are the physical and the metaphysical aspects of your goal. So if your goal is to get fit, there's going to be physical aspects of that. You're going to, you know, get strong, you're going to feel muscle, you're going to notice sort of your weight reduce. The metaphysical aspects of that goal is, you know, what will that create for you? What feelings will that create for you? Self-respect, self-esteem, confidence, motivation, energy. So again, it gets you to look at your goal in that bigger picture and see it from different points of view. And then achievable is looking at your belief system. So we all have a belief system that we're governed by, and normally it's these negative limiting beliefs we have that stop us from achieving things. So you might say, I want to earn $1 million. I would love to do that. I know what I would do with that money, but I don't believe I can do that in my current job, which might be true. But if you don't believe you can earn that money in what you're currently doing, then you may never earn that money. You've got to get creative and create a belief for yourself that says, I can earn that money no matter what job I'm working in. There is a way to do it. So it's looking about what your beliefs are about your goal, whether they're negative or positive.
Yes.
And if they are negative beliefs, you need to turn them around and make them a positive belief. And there's a process for that, which is in the book. It actually takes you through step-by-step how to turn a negative belief into a positive belief.
Okay.
And the psychology around that. So beliefs are really powerful and a really integral part to setting our goals. Then with realistic and relatable, realistic, like you said before, we have to be realistic about what our goals are. In the Smartest Method, I have a slightly different take on that. Again, it's as you go through life working on your goals, things happen in reality that can either propel us forward or stop us dead in our track. For example, we might lose our job tomorrow, and we're like, oh, great, there goes any chance of me succeeding in my goal. But when anything happens in reality that we don't expect or we can't control, we have sort of two ways that we can deal with that. We can either react to it, we can panic, we can go into the fight or flight mode and get disorganized and erratic and completely lose focus. Or we can respond and say, all right, this is what's happened. I wasn't expecting this, but how can I use it to help me achieve my goal in a different way?
It's amazing how you can, you can look at it two ways, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's the power we have. We have that choice of whether we respond or react. And react is to go on impulse and not think about it. Respond is to be calm and focused and be like, okay, this is what's happened. There's nothing I can do about it, but how can I use this to my advantage? And if you get a little creative around your thinking, you can use it to your advantage. And, we see people in today's economy getting made redundant and losing their jobs, and then they place so much emphasis on the field they work in or their job. It's like a part of their identity. They don't think they can achieve anything without that particular job. But if that happens, you can be like, well, you know what, maybe this is an opportunity for me to look back at the other things I was interested in doing and start fresh and have a new job where I take on new responsibilities and learn new things. And that's the difference there, is about responding or reacting. And then the second part of relatable, this is sort of the part of the Smartest Method, which is like a turning point for a lot of people. They've gone through the steps and they've set their goal. And then at this point, I start talking about all this internal influence that we have. So by that, I mean, what are you passionate about, most passionate about? What inspires you in your life to take action, and what inspires your goals? And what are your values? These are the internal driving factors that push us towards what we want or turn us away from what we don't want. So in this part of the book, I get people to consider, what is it that they're really passionate about? And is their goal linked to that? Like, a lot of people will set goals and start working on them, but they'll feel that that goal is not for them, or they'll lose motivation because it's not really connected to what they want most. It might be someone might have told them, you should do this, you know, this will get you to here, or X, Y, and Z, but it's not really where that person wants to be or what they want to be doing, because our passion and our inspiration is really what moves us forward and drives us. So it's important to know what that is. And with values, we all have these core values that we live our life by. And we base most of our decisions on what our values are. So, for example, if you know your highest value is your family, someone offers you a job saying, "Oh, you're going to be travelling interstate every weekend and probably overseas 5 times a year. You'll be gone for 2 months of the year. Is that a problem?" And if your highest value is your family, you'll be like, "No, thank you."
Yes.
But if someone felt pressured to do that, it might sound like a glamorous job, but then they're going to feel this conflict because it's clashing with their value of being with their family. So it's important to know what your values are and link that to your goal. And if your values and passion, inspiration are connected to the goal that you want, you've got a much higher chance of achieving it. And you'll probably just enjoy the process a lot more as well if it's within that arena of what you like to do and how you like to spend your time. So the next part, the time, T stands for time framed and task orientated. So it's important to set a deadline for what your goal is and put a date on it and be specific. Like it might be October 15th, 2016, for example. And also look at how you currently spend your time. A lot of us don't think we have any time in the day, but in the ebook, it'll link you to an exercise called the default diary, where you look at your weekly schedule and how you spend your time, and down to the exact minute. So when and how long you sleep, how long you spend getting ready for work, traveling to work, at work, what you do in the evenings, what you do on the weekends. After you've done this exercise, it helps you realize that either you've got no spare time, which you already knew, or you've got some spare time you didn't realize you had. And then it asks you, how are you spending that time? Are you just passing it, filling it up with unproductive things like surfing the internet and watching all these reality TV shows, or can you be using that time to work constructively on your goal? And then the task-orientated part is to break your goal down into tasks. Because there's a saying, our tasks are what form our habits, and our habits are what form our success. So,
that's right.
Yeah, so originally that's where I would stop with my goal setting, was just with the SMART part. But even though all of that was great, there was something that was missing from it that wasn't helping me to get my goal across the line. So that's where the EST came from, and what those letters stand for is the E stands for energized and excited. So, at the start of the new year, we get really inspired and energized that we're going to finally create the change that we want, and we have this energy because we've had some time off, we've rested, we've contemplated on the year that was, we're ready to get going, it's a brand new year, let's get started, right? And that energy is there at the beginning, but then that energy will start to fade as life kicks back into gear again. Yep. So when you have a goal that's energized, you've got to keep re-energizing that goal and keep inspiring yourself to keep the momentum going, because life will interrupt you along the way and you might lose the motivation to keep going, and then the goal just kind of stalls. So it's like a car. You put fuel in a car to get it going. You have to keep putting fuel in, otherwise the car will break down. So a goal is the same way, and there's different strategies you can energize your goal. Is to think about what are all my different reasons why I want to do this, talking to yourself out loud about it, having pictures on the wall like a vision board. So that's really important. And then being excited about your goal is thinking, how is this goal going to change my life? If your goal is just to get a brand new television, you get that TV and it might be nice at the start, but then the novelty wears off and you're like, great, well, that wasn't very satisfying, because it's not something that keeps on giving, really. If you've got a goal that can change your life and potentially change the lives of other people, you will be excited about working on it because you know it's going to completely take your life in a new direction. True. So I've coached a lady before who has set the goal using the smartest method, and she got excited by it because she decided along the way that she was going to become a personal trainer once she had developed her outcome. And now she is a personal trainer. So that's what got her excited going to the gym, because she was getting fit but also learning how to be a personal trainer, and then she started helping all her friends get fit, and her life has just taken on this whole new sort of meaning. So
it's fantastic. Brian, we got about 30 seconds or so, man. We really have to wrap it up. But look,
No problem.
In saying that the ebooks on, I've just put that ebook on Facebook, so for anyone who wants to download that, I know we're running short of time, Brian, but look, we're going to get to that. I think it's important people download the ebook and go through the process, like you said, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Take the time, make the effort, because if it's just a vague wish, then it's never going to get off the ground. You've got to really plan your goal and take ownership of it, and you'll have a much higher chance of success. So put in the hard work, and things will really start to happen. So please download the ebook. Any questions, feel free to contact me, and there's links in there to purchase my book and go further with it. So please,
there you have it.
Please do that.
Thank you, Brian. I'm sorry we're running short of time, but it's great it's great. I mean, look, a lot of things can be learned from this, and people need to start getting down to their goals and start really working their goals. And the last one I saw was taking the first step, and it's